Hello and welcome to Ketter Farms. We're back with another episode of Lincoln Creek, Nebraska, and we're picking up right after the last episode where we've got all of our equipment up here at Field 32 ready to start diving into our soybeans. So we're going to go ahead and get auto drive turned off on all of these vehicles so that they don't try to crash into each other as soon as I start putting the header on the lead combine here. And we'll get the field opened up here so that we can get harvesting. We've got an awesome soybean texture here on the field. Everything looks dried out and ready to go. Let's get this combine all fired up here. We're gonna drop it off and see if I can get our header hooked up here without driving over too many beans. Get the combine starting to unfold here. And I think what I'm going to do is we are going to use Courseplay on this particular field. But I want to make sure we get things opened up here first, get enough room here to park our trucks and grain carts and stuff off of the road so that we can move around and it won't matter where the Courseplay courses are going to open things up, hopefully. Alright, something like that should work out pretty good for us. So I'm going to back up here again into the corner. And we're going to bring up Courseplay, course generation. We're going to do Field 32. Now, last time I ran into some problems with only two headlands and running up against trees on kind of an angled course. And since this is looking like it's the same thing, we're going to do two headland passes with our two vehicles and see what that looks like. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of this kind of loop-de-loop type deal when I see that in Courseplay, but I think in this case that's going to be the better trade-off. So I'm going to put this guy on one left and tell him to start at the first waypoint. Now, where did I put the first waypoint? Hang on, we forgot to pick where our starting point is going to be. Select position on map. So let me select this and regenerate and see how it likes that. It seems to like that a little better. I don't know why it's trying to do crooked rows. Let's try and have this starting direction be north. It's going to yell at me, but I think that's going to work better than trying to do everything at this weird angle throughout the field. I like that a lot better. Let's go with that. So first waypoint, he's going to be the guy on the left. We're going to use vehicle convoy just to keep them a little bit separated. Should work out great. And away he goes. So let's do the same thing here with combine number 2. And we'll set this guy up on the right side. He's got vehicle convoy on as well. And we should be able to just start him off on the way as well. And of course he's going to annoy me with that little bit of soybean there. Ah, well, that's Courseplay for you sometimes. Now, I guess one thing that I always forget to do is come into the advanced settings, and we're going to raise late, lower, early on both of these combines here. And one other thing you've probably noticed is that I have left the soybean straw swath turned on here with Courseplay. I'm kind of gone back and forth as to whether or not I was going to bother doing this, but after seeing how effective baling the straw on our wheat field was, we're going to go ahead and bale the soybean and cornstalk straw on our fields here for the rest of the series here and just see what kind of money we make off of this. If it ends up being worth it, then yeah, we're probably going to do that in this series, just to get that extra money to buy some of those bigger fields that we want to get into. So we'll see how this goes. With the way Courseplay is set up now to be able to collect bales and sell them for you, it's going to be way less of a headache for me to actually manage. So that's where I'm kind of excited to give it a try. But that does mean that when we want to get into baling this up, we're going to want to have saved this Courseplay course so that the baler can drive along the same course. So we're going to go ahead and save this as Field 32 2X Harvester, just so that I have this here, and then I can run that baler on this course and just send him through the course twice, one on the left side and one on the right side, because I don't think we're going to have a need to buy multiple balers. And so I think we'll end up actually buying that baler next time rather than leasing it, just because if we are going to be baling all of these fields, we'll pay for that baler pretty quick. So with the combines moving around the field here, we should go ahead and get the rest of this equipment off the road here. So we're going to go ahead and pull our grain cart up in here. I think that they're going to be fine getting around the field here before they get full. And for the semi, I'm trying to think about whether or not we can actually set up a auto drive course here to get them to go back when they're full. I don't think I really set it all up that way, and honestly, we can't dump into our auger automatically with the way these semis are set up. And so I think rather than trying to monkey around with getting them to just automatically run back and forth, we're gonna set these guys up and fill them manually ourselves, and then we'll just send them back up to the farm when they are full and kind of manage it manually that way. So what I want to do is park this semi here along the edge of the field while it's empty. It's nice and easy to back it up and get it into position, and then we'll be here and ready to bring it up to the farm when we do get full. I think something like this is going to work out really well, letting me empty into this guy here on the edge of the field. All right, so we got a little bit distracted there looking at some settings, and it looks like our combines got full on the corner here. So I am running down here with the grain cart real quick. We'll get the soybeans emptied out of this lead combine, get him moving again, and then we'll jump over and get this rear one going. I was expecting these combines to be able to make it around the outside of the field. Our beans must be yielding pretty good if we're already full. Though this is going to make a little bit of a mess here when it comes to baling up the soybean straw here. But it looks like we're full just under 400 bushels here. So we'll get out of this guy's way. He can keep moving down the field. And I'll swing around here and we'll pick up the other combine. Looks like he's also going to have created a mess here when he stopped. Skip a few rows, unfortunately. We'll have a little bit of cleanup to do with these combines, I'm thinking, after we're done with the field. Oops. There we go. We'll have him pause for a moment while we unload. Give us some time to let that other combine move ahead in the path here. Plus, this corner's already a mess with stopping for the straw, so what's one more stop? There we go. He's now off to the races, and we're gonna hop right on out here and take the road down to the other end of the field. And as long as we're here, we might as well test to make sure we're gonna be able to dump into the semi here without any problems. I think this is gonna be a great spot for us. No trees or anything else in our way. Looks like we're finishing up right as the combines are getting down here to the corner. So I'm gonna let this combine do his thing. In fact, we're gonna back up because if I'm not mistaken, Courseplay is going to try and take the corner of this field here. So I want to make sure I'm out of his way. He should just miss that Semi. That was close. Now, I think he's going to cut over here right past this little spot that the other combine missed. And they'll do one more trip around the field here. And so I'm going to get up alongside him and unload on the way down right here, just to make sure he's empty for the trip around the field. This is going to make our lives easier. Since they almost made it around on the outside pass, they'll have a lot less beans on this second pass, especially because I have the headland overlap mode a little bit strong here, just to make sure we didn't miss a lot of bits on the corner. So this should keep him going here till he gets all the way back around and we can get into a normal unload pattern. We're gonna swing around here and also unload the other combine as he gets around the corner here, just to do the same thing. And then I suppose we could actually set up a Courseplay unload course for this grain cart at some point here. We don't quite have enough going on that we need an unload course yet, but it's something I'm thinking about. We could always use that to allow us to go and get started on some other jobs that we've got around the farm. We will need to get a plow out for that little cornfield that we did up by the house. And so it might be a good idea to try and get some of our tillage equipment running here at some point, just to keep up with this. But I don't think we're going to have to do any tillage on the soybean field here. So let's get unloading here and check in on that. If we look here, you can see field 32, even though we've harvested some off, we're not going to need to do any plowing here with the way things are set up. And so we'll probably just try to direct plant back into the soybean field here, especially since most of the stalks and leaves and stuff are going to get baled up here because we're putting it all behind the combine rather than spreading it back out in the field. So there's not going to be as much trash and residue that we need to worry about here. And with both of those combines emptied, I'm going to run this right back up here to the truck, just because I'm kind of curious to see where we're at from a total yield perspective so far. So if we climb up here in the truck, we've already got 1,000 bushels in the back of this truck, which seems like a lot for how not full it is. So I'm not sure we've got realistic capacities on this trailer. 1,000 bushels is a lot of bushels in a semi-trailer, but that's all right. We're going to go with it because as we get into corn on some of these big fields, we're definitely going to want that capacity. So with that, we're going to bring this grain cart back out here to the other corner so we can unload along this headland like we did last time. All right, we've got our combines coming down here around the corner, so let's get them unloaded real quick. See if we can line up here right in the sweet spot between the soybean chaff and the header here. We're bringing in quite a few beans here. I'm pretty happy with our yields so far. We got another 250 bushels from that time around, a little bit less than the previous time, as one might expect. And so I'm just going to get both of these guys emptied, and we should be starting in on the straight rows after this. Now, I didn't do any kind of a lands cut through type mode with this field. Maybe I should have. It's not that big of a field, so I figured if they just work from one end to the other, it's going to be the best option. Now, we do have the turn mode turned on here for these guys, so they're cutting out the corners and then backing up and taking it head on so that they don't miss any beans on these hard corners, which works great from a perspective that they're not missing a lot of beans on the corners, but it's making a mess from a straw perspective, and I'm not looking forward to having to clean all that up with the baler. I was really hoping to just leave the baler on the Courseplay course and have him get all of the straw. So we'll have to see if I get too lazy to pick all of that up, or if we're going to come back and clean it up manually after the fact. We'll see what we feel like once we get a baler moving here. Either way, it looks like we've got both of these combines emptied out now. And we got 34% soybeans in the grain cart here. Not a lot, not enough to bother unloading just yet, especially since our semi is nowhere near full either. So I'm just gonna put this guy over here and out of the way for the time being. And we're gonna go grab another tractor up at the farm here and start setting up for another job. So I think what we want to do is start out by grabbing this big Steiger and getting it put on its tillage equipment here. We're gonna knock out some tillage here, I think, with this big Tiger mate here on our cornfield, just to break up the corn stalks a little bit. This thing is gonna make pretty short work of this field, I think. So I think what we'll do is I'll jump into this and take the headlands off first, and then we can just let a worker finish up the last few passes, because it's not going to take but a handful of minutes to knock this field out with this big tool. There we go. We've got everything all squared away here. One pass is probably not enough to avoid turning around on the road a little bit with this big rig. But I think that the worker's going to be able to handle this. There's not a lot to crash into, and this is a really small field. So I'm going to let her keep cranking on this, and we'll jump back over to our other field here and get those combines unloaded. The unfortunate part, actually, before we do that, the unfortunate part I'm realizing as I look over here at our bin setup is we're going to need to move the auger again because we switched over to beans. This is the downside with continuing to work with different crop types, is there's so many different things that you have to keep moving the equipment around for, where if we'd just stuck with the corn, we could have left this set up. So actually what I'm going to do is, before we move that auger, I'm going to drive this truck over here and get what dry corn we can out of the dryer and get it put into this truck here. We've got a bit of corn in here, not a lot yet, and not a lot of time has passed since we started this whole process, and it always feels a little bit odd since a season's day represents usually multiple days in the real world, sometimes even weeks in the real world. And so it's always, the trick is finding that right balance of how fast do I want my dryers running to still feel somewhat realistic. I don't want all my corn to get dried in an instant, but at the same time, I've only got so much time with seasons days where, you know, real life time, weeks would have passed. But I'm really liking how this whole setup is working out for us. So now that we've got the corn unloaded there into the auger, we'll get that all set up and moved into the bins, and we'll get this auger set up, moved over to one of these other bins. I'm thinking we're gonna put beans over here in the corner, just so that I can kind of remember where things are at. And so I think we'll put beans right here in this bin on the corner and leave the other ones all on this side. We'll fill these with corn until they're full. So that's kind of where I'm thinking. And we'll see how far we get here with our storage capacity. But before we do that, I'm gonna jump out here and we're gonna go make sure that we unload these combines. We wanna keep them moving in these beans. And they've made quite a few passes out here while we were goofing off with the tillage equipment. And so it makes sense for us to get these guys unloaded here real quick. I think this guy is going to turn right back into the next row there, so I'll unload him on the way back up, and I'll hit the other combine on the way down, hopefully. Looks like we're just in time. They were probably 70 to 80% full. The flashers hadn't quite come on yet, so we're right where we wanted to be, not having anybody waiting on us. We take kind of a look down into the hopper here. We can see the beans are just out as we pass our other combine here. Perfect timing, so we'll get spun right around and catch this guy before he gets to the end, hopefully. Well, here we go. And with both of the combines emptied out here, we're at about 75% of our grain cart capacity. If we jump in the cab here, you can see we've got a scale on the grain cart there. We're at 37,000 bushels. I can't remember. I think this thing is like 40,000 maybe. It should hold 1,300 bushels. The number on the scale is in liters, unfortunately. And so we're at 1,000, a little over 1,000 bushels out of the 1,300 that this cart holds. So we're gonna go ahead and put all of this into the semi. It's not quite gonna fill up the semi, but we might as well be emptied out while we've got the downtime. And with the grain cart emptied, we're at now a little over 2,000 bushels in the semi, 77% of our capacity. So next time we come and dump into the semi, it should be full, and we'll be able to run this up to the farm and start putting beans into our bins. Just looking at how far into the field we've gotten so far, not even halfway. So I know we're gonna need to fill up more than one truck here to get all the beans off of this field, which will be a nice change of pace, starting to get some volume out of our crops. All right, so I have gone out and fixed the bins so that they'll properly hold the dry corn, which has allowed us to empty out this auger. So we're gonna get it moved around the bins here as well and set this up for our soybeans over on this far side. So we're gonna try and keep this kind of close to the bins so that I can get a truck around here. We really don't want to be running into too many problems. My auger seems like it's a little high. Let's get the auger cam out here. And boom, we're nice and lined up here. Looking good. Looking good. So we're gonna go ahead and leave this here, put the hopper back out here, and if I jump down here into hopper mode, I'm gonna be able to set this down hopefully in the right spot. I'm gonna give it a little bit of a twist just to make sure it's sitting nice and level. That looks really good. So I like where that's at. We're gonna leave everything set up here. And now we've got our soybean bin all set up. I'm gonna run this back over to the corn dryer and just keep it parked under there. We'll be able to keep running this corn dryer for a while to get all of this corn dried. It seems like it's gonna take a bit before we get a full truck. So no concerns here at the moment, but I will just empty this, keep it moving. Got another couple hundred bushels in here already. I was running the clock a little bit faster here to simulate that we've passed quite a bit of time doing all of these fields and getting everything set up. So we'll let this dryer keep going. It's got a ways to go. Maybe we should check its propane levels. We've still got a fair amount of propane in there, so we will need to refill the propane at some point, but not right now. As long as we're up here at the farm, we might as well help the worker out here. One little strip left here to pick up, and oh, it looks like we've turned up some rocks, so we'll be able to get that rock picker back out here at some point and play around with that. I do have an updated version of the rock picker that needs to be tested, so we'll be hitting that up here in an episode soon just to see how that works out. Hopefully we've got some more of the kinks worked out. I know a lot of people have been asking about it. But with that, we should probably hop back into the grain cart here and run over here to unload some of our combines. These guys have been going for quite some time here without us, so I'm worried they're getting full. Well, I don't see the pile coming up out of the hopper yet, but they're probably about half full, maybe a little bit more. So we might as well just unload them since we're here. See what a little bit of in-cab driving looks like. I always like how the sound changes drastically whether you're in the cab or not. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do with FS22 sounds. I know they've talked about improving the sounds in Farm Sim 22. I've seen some of their early videos on that, and it looks like it should be a welcome change. It's funny, I can see the fill level of the combine through the back window of the cab. So I've got an idea of when we're starting to get a little bit empty there. And then as we do, you can see my scale on the grain cart kind of starts counting down really slow. So we're going to stop here and kind of back up, stay out of the way of our combine friend. Let her get moving on the next rows. And so we need just a bit more here to top that truck off, I think. We're gonna actually unload this guy again on his way down right now, even though he's not gonna have a lot, just because I think we're that close to topping off the truck. And I'd really like to get that truck run up to the bin site and make sure we've got everything set up and working here for the beans. This is gonna be a quick unload for us. In fact, it looks like we're already topped off, or emptied out of the tank, I should say. So I'm just gonna jet down here and do the same thing with combine number 2. We're officially on the shortest rows in this field now. So we're gonna be making even a better time here as we continue to knock out the acres. I'll be curious to see when we're all done here how many total acres we got on both of these combines, as we're not going to reset the acre counter between fields. I'm going to let that run all harvest here and see what our total ends up being between the two combines. I calculated the acres on these fields at one point, and I've since forgotten what that was. So this will be the easiest way to remind ourselves. And with that combine emptied out here, I'm going to bet on the fact that we've got enough beans to top off our truck here. So we're going to run it down to the other end of the field and see if we can get our first full load of beans off of this field. It's looking like it's going to get full here. There we go. We've got a full truck of beans. So I'm going to just pull this back onto the field so that when we get back with the truck, I can park it in that same spot. And we're going to hop in here and ship this truck back up to the farm. Get it all tarped up here so we don't lose any beans on the road. And I'm just going to send it up to the main yard because I don't know where those other points go just yet. And we've got a lot of equipment in different spots all over the map right now. And so you can see, even though we're really in the middle of the map, we're not that far from the farm. It's still going to take 4 minutes to get the semi back up to the farm here. So it's a nice thing we've got auto drive here to help us out with this, because that'd be a long time to be away from all of our other jobs trying to drive these trucks up manually. Luckily, with only 2 combines going here, 1 truck is going to be more than enough to keep up with soybeans. As we start doing corn, which is higher volume, and our fields are further away on the map in some cases, it's definitely going to be necessary to get both semis moving. So we're going to get this guy dumping into the hopper here and just double check. It looks like the auger's going up into the bin and unloading appropriately. So let's hop over here and turn on our HUD, and woo, we've got soybeans going into the bin already. Look at that. We've actually got more soybeans in the bins than we do dry corn at this point. So we're going to keep this going, get all of these soybeans here into the bin. And it excites me to see that we're going to be very likely getting into at least the double-digit percentages as far as a fill percent in these bins after we're done with all of our soybeans. If a single truckload is getting us this far, looks like we're coming in at over 80,000. The auger's still cranking them up there. We're probably going to be at a total of 90,000 beans. This trailer's a beast, 95,000 liters. So we got 6% of the bin in a single semi-load there. This trailer is probably a little bit big from a bushels perspective than what I'm used to. I'm used to hauling like between 1,000 and 1,500 bushels back up to the farm per semi-load. So these trailers are going to work out really well on this map. Let's go ahead and send this back out to the field here. All right, so we are done here. Our 2 combines are probably both about half full. So we're gonna just run them over here and unload them into the grain cart real quick here. This is gonna finish off this field, and then we'll need to get them set up for the road again, I think, here, and move them over to, I believe it's field 24 up in the northeast part of the map here, where we're gonna be able to start in on our next soybean field. I think we've only got the 2 soybean fields, so we should be able to knock that one out pretty quick. It's a narrow, longer field. So we're gonna go ahead and just get both of these combines set up to road over to our next field here. It looks like our semi has come back out to this field to grab the rest of our soybeans. I'm just running him up to the corner here to make sure that we can get auto drive kicked off with success. I'm almost positive it's field 24 here. It is. So let's send these guys over, get them driving, and we'll get the rest of these beans unloaded real quick. And since we really don't have that many beans here, we're probably gonna run the truck and the grain cart up to field 24 because we're a lot closer here, rather than sending the truck all the way back up to the farm just to unload, you know, a few hundred bushel, which I say like it's not a lot. You know, honestly, if we had 600 bushel in a normal semi-trailer, we'd probably be running it back up to the farm. But in our case, everything's gonna get sent up to field 24 so that we can get going on that, because I think that field is only going to require a 1 to 2 semi-loads as well. And so it's gonna just make the most sense to get all of this equipment up there so we can get going on that field next. However, I think that'll be the job for next episode. We're going to call it here, folks. Hopefully you've enjoyed today's episode. If you have, drop a like. It helps the channel out immensely. That's all for today. Kedrick out. So we'll jump in here and stop these drivers real quick. Stopping one means the other one wants to go full. What are you doing? Courseplay, come on. What is this? Stop.